I'm making this video for my boss because I want to go to Europe to see where they build these amazing boats and bring you guys with me for a tour of their factory. So please, at the end, smash that like button and subscribe button so we can make that happen. What if a sailor, we'll call him Dick, sailed some 150,000 miles through the world's oceans only to find that he needed a bigger, better boat, something that could withstand a 130-degree knockdown, that carried 25% more sail than anything else, something with no keel bolts but not sacrificing on performance, something with a rudder hung not just from a skeg but from a stainless steel girder. What if our sailor, Dick, started his own brand of world cruising super sailboats built to sail the world with zero compromises on safety, comfort, and speed? This, my friends, is the story of Kraken Yachts. Dick started sailing at 7 years old as a cub with his father Don, a scoutmaster in Essex, England. His first passage was a creek crawl in a cadet dinghy from Canvey Island Floating Bridge to Sewer Bend. For more glamorous destinations than that, he would have to wait another 16 years until, as a backpacker at age 23, he found himself in Port of Spain, Trinidad, and secured a berth to explore the Grenadines aboard Windward, a US-flagged 32-foot yawl. Dick spent 6 months exploring the Caribbean on Windward and another Swedish-owned yacht before returning to the UK penniless, but with one thing in mind: to buy his own cruising boat. To that end, he set up and ran a market trading business, and after 5 years had saved enough to buy his first yacht, Corsair, a steel-hulled Endurance 35 design. It took him 2 years to finish the yacht in Dauntless Boatyard, Canvey Island, Essex, and in 1981 he set off for the Mediterranean with his wife Sue and their 1-year-old son Rob. Many of the bulletproof qualities, such as super strong hull, long keel, and keel-hung rudder, became ingrained in Dick's thinking about what makes a safe offshore cruising boat. In Corsair, Dick crossed the Bay of Biscay 4 times and cruised the then largely unexplored Western Mediterranean before selling her in the early 1990s to fund his growing business. Dick worked with the Taiwanese builders of his next boat, Moonshadow, a Tiana 58, to ensure that she included the rig, running rigging, and other systems that he wanted. She was launched in 2006, and he sailed her from the South China Sea across and around the Indian, Pacific, and Atlantic Oceans. He clocked up over 150,000 nautical miles on that boat and ventured into many places not found in any cruising guides, such as Papua New Guinea, northern Indonesia, and the atolls of Micronesia and the Andaman Islands. By the time Dick had sailed to Australia, his family had grown considerably. His 2 children, Rob and Laura, were now adults, and they had a wife and fiance respectively. Jack, Dick's first grandson, was a growing lad, so when they all came to join him for sailing in 2012, it became clear that Moonshadow was not big enough for all of them to sail in comfort. The search for his ultimate cruising yacht began. With the connections he made over many years of ocean cruising, Dick returned to Taiwan and commissioned shipwrights Tai Yang to build a yacht to his full specification, commissioning naval architect Kevin Dibley, a New Zealander, to work with him on that boat. Dick incorporated all of his sailing experience along with Kevin's design knowledge and skill, and the result was White Dragon, a 66-footer launched in 2016, which Dick sailed to the Eastern Mediterranean via the Cape of Good Hope a year later. During White Dragon's build and lengthy cruise back to Europe, she continually turned admiring heads, which led to a plethora of inquiries and requests for a smaller boat of the same design. 66 was too big. And thus, Kraken Yachts was born. Kevin and Dick went on to design both the Kraken 50 and 58. So that's the history lesson. We're going to go on in later episodes to cover some of Kraken's boats, but in this video, I just want to give you 2 of the many examples of what makes Kraken so different than anything else. First, they call it the zero keel. The zero keel is part of the hull and it can never come off. There are no bolts used anywhere in the construction of the keel or the hull. This makes the hull and keel an integral unit. If you want to cruise around the world with the peace of mind that you'll never lose your keel, then choosing a yacht with an integral keel should be your starting point. There's nothing new about an integral keel though. Quite the reverse. Not that long ago, most quality yachts were built like this and had been for decades. Then builders started cutting costs, simply bolting a big piece of steel on instead of molding a keel into the hull together. It's been a big cost savings, but in Kraken's view, it's not compatible with blue water cruising. Whilst a standard integral keel is always preferable to a bolt-on keel, they have significant drawbacks, which the zero keel aims to overcome. With a zero keel, the ballast weight is centered in one area at the very bottom of the keel, where it will have the best effect on riding moment of the yacht while it's under sail. This achieves several things compared to the standard integral keel. The center of gravity is much lower, so the yacht is stiffer and can carry bigger sail area. It can achieve the necessary riding moment whilst having a significantly lower draft. The bulb shape improves hydrodynamics. When wind pressure on the sail and topsides tries to force the yacht sideways, causing leeway, the bulb shape inhibits the bypass of water. With a zero keel, the yacht makes less leeway and instead improved headway. A zero keel is much longer fore and aft, the chord length, compared to regular keels. The reason modern keels have a short chord length is so the yacht can turn around a race buoy swiftly. This means the yacht is more twitchy and requires much more helming than that required of a longer chord length keel, like the zero keel. What you want on ocean passages is directional stability, and with their zero keel, the helmsman and autopilot need to work less as the yacht tracks straight. Nonetheless, all of Kraken's yachts are fairly maneuverable, both forward and astern, and in any case, most owners specify the use of a bow thruster. The lead ballast in the zero keel's bulb is also much longer, and the weight is evenly spaced across the length of the keel. This means there's much reduced tendency to seesaw or pivot around the small axis created by a short chord length keel as the yacht encounters waves, so the nauseating fore and aft pitching motion is largely eliminated. That's the zero keel, but I said there were two things. So here's the second one, the alpha rudder. To fully protect the rudder from collision damage from floating debris and accidental grounding, the alpha rudder system they use incorporates a full-length skeg which is engineered with an internal reinforced stainless steel beam. The skeg's leading edge is angled to reduce the risk of lines of debris getting caught around the rudder. Now let's talk about the bearings in this rudder. The main bearing should be removed and serviced yearly, but in every other yacht steering system that requires you to haul the yacht out of the water. When world cruising, it's likely that facilities to do that may not be available until much later. But in the alpha rudder system, the main bearing is removable from inside the vessel, and there's no need to haul out to service or replace that vital bearing. It can even be replaced at sea underway if needed. The alpha rudder system has 3 bearings to provide better support for the rudder and the rudder shaft compared to a rudder shaft with 1 or 2 bearings. The bottom pintle bearing is a simple Vasconite bush bearing. The main bearing and central bearing is a Jeffa needle roller bearing, which requires regular servicing. The top bulkhead bearing is also a simple Vasconite bearing, which is removable so that the main bearing can be pulled up on the rudder shaft for easy servicing. It can be fully removed over the top of the rudder shaft for replacement. If it's necessary to inspect or replace the main bearing, it can be done because the shaft is held straight and secure by the top and bottom bearings while the main bearing is checked or replaced. That's a quick introduction to Kraken yachts, but there's still a lot to talk about with these guys. If you're interested in Kraken and what they're doing over there, leave a comment. Let us know what you want us to cover about this up-and-coming ocean-going brand of boats. And if you want to see the inside of their new facility, leave a comment and let my boss know. Send Tim to Kraken. While you're here, some light reading for you while we talk about the best designed boats. What's the best learning boat? I'd wager a lot of you learned, like I did, on a 22. And what other 22 than the Catalina 22? And we just published a great review of that little firecracker on the Practical Sailor site. It was a trip down memory lane for me when I read it, but it was a great read. You should check it out. The link's in the description. I can't wait to hear from all of you in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.